Yeah. So what I'm saying here is sometimes you will have classes which you can clearly distinguish, okay, but just by using a simple straight line, okay. And in all cases it won't be the same. Basically, you may need a complex decision boundaries as well. Sometimes you may need to draw a complex decision boundary, okay. So if you see in algebra, you will know, right? So what is the next complex version of a straight line? It's a quadratic function, right? Okay. And after quadratic, you will have a cubic polynomial. And after cubic polynomial, I'm not sure what you is there some specific name for fourth order polynomial. Okay. And then you will have a fifth order polynomial. Okay, like this you can define multiple orders of polynomials. You can increase basically, in order to describe this decision boundary, actually you can increase the complexity of your decision boundary, or the complexity of uh, the way you represent the decision boundary, basically. Okay, but to what extent it will be true, because or to what extent you can increase like this, it's also equally important for you to analyze. You cannot just because your data is not linearly separable, just to ensure that the training data is classified well, okay, you cannot just like that, you cannot increase the order of your the order of the polynomial with which you describe your decision boundary, okay. And so you need to stop at some place, whether it can be a fourth order or the fifth order or the third order. So you need to stop at a certain specific place, basically. Okay. So what is that stopping point? How do you determine that stopping point is also equally important. Okay. See, in the last few sessions also, we are talking about multiple design constraints as such. Okay. That is a complete focus for us. Okay. And let me talk about something like this. So, where do I stop here? Whether beyond linear, if you see, it's a first order. The quadratic is something like you have a parabolic or circle. Also, you can describe by using a second order polynomial, basically. Okay. So, in the same way, what is the order of complexity? What is the best possible order of complexity is what you need to tell. Okay. So for which there is a simple way to do it, and this is the next coding exercise which I would recommend all of you to do it, because this will help you on a long term. In a long term basis, this will help you in a better way. Okay. Now, earlier, what did we do? We had some, say, X number of examples, capital X number of examples, total examples in the set given to you. Okay. We have divided this into training set, and we have divided into testing set. And we gave, say, 40% we made it into test set, and 60% we took it in the training set. Okay. And here what we need to do here is the 40% test set, actually you need to this should be classified as an actual test, okay, and we will introduce something called validation set. Okay, this is how the practice is done. Okay, tomorrow I am going to talk about something else also, in addition to whatever I'm telling you today. But let's say you are dividing your entire data set. Okay, this is how you should do. You divide 60% as a training, okay, and 20% you make it as a validation set. 60% as training, 20% as validation, and the remaining 20% as testing. Okay, these are the three sets that you need to have. This is how you should divide the complete data set. Okay, I want you to divide the complete data set. Okay, for this analysis, you can take any of the regression data sets that are available there. Okay, preferably you take either Boston data set or diabetes data set. Okay, you can do this analysis on the both the data sets, you make your code generalizable so that if I just mention as Boston, then the entire analysis should run on the Boston data set. And if I mention it as a diabetes data set, then the entire analysis, whatever that you are doing over here, it should happen on the diabetes. Okay. So the reason behind having a separate validation set here is, okay, initially you will do the training process completely on the 60% data. Okay, whatever you did. Okay, and when you are dividing this, okay, that random shuffling that we did to divide the data earlier applies here as well. Okay, you also need to initially shuffle this capital X, the given data set, okay, before dividing it into these three data sets: the training, validation, and testing. Okay, and the idea here is why we need to divide into three data sets here is, okay, you will train your model by using 60% of the data set. Okay, and you during validation, what essentially you'll be doing over here is, okay, here you will fine tune your model parameters. Okay, because this validation set, this your model will not be seen during the training process anyways. Okay, and and then this you will see, you will calculate how much will be the test error, maybe with certain set of parameters, say x, y, z, some set of parameters are there for your model. Okay, and you want to determine which is the optimum value for your the optimum values of x, y, z parameters for your model. Then how do you determine is, you will use this validation set in order to check the performance with certain settings on these parameters. Maybe these parameters can be a regularization coefficient like C, capital C, that we have seen, or the maximum number of iterations that you have to do as a which that has to be given as an input to your function, right? These can be the parameters, and you want to decide what are the optimum values of it. And one way is to do like this: you have to train the model and then check how much on this validation set, you will check how is the performance is happening. And if the performance is not good, okay, then maybe you will run with an improvised setting of XYZ, and then again you train your model, and then you again check the validation performance. Okay, and that is how you can do it. That is one of the advantages of having a validation data set. Okay, and when you're finally reporting into your client back, okay, you need to report to your client also, right? Saying, okay, this is the performance of my method, this is the precision, and this is the recall that is there on my of my model. Okay, that you will do on this 20% testing data set, which you have not which you have not shown it to your model at all. Okay, so this is one reason why we need to divide. Okay, but your actual task is, what is your actual task here is, okay, so you will divide into three groups, and I want you to do a regression analysis, okay, and see how the training error is happening. Okay, maybe you can take this model as one of the models. Maybe logistic regression, linear regression is only a straight line. Okay, maybe you can take decision tree. There is an what do you say? There's a decision tree regressor which is available, or support vector regressor is also available. Okay, you can take either of these two, okay, and do this analysis basically. Okay, and it might take little time. In my system, actually, this support vector regression is taking little time. Okay, but let's see if your system is little good, and then it's executing faster, or maybe you can try it on a collab and see how it is executing. Okay, all that you have to see here is you vary this parameter. Say support vector regression has a parameter called but if you set one of the options to polynomial kernel, okay, there is an option of degree, I guess. Okay, this degree gives you what is the order of the polynomial that you have to describe. this order can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, any value. Okay. So what you need to do here is, if you use a degree of 1, that means almost like you are trying to you are trying to fit your data, but just by using a straight line. Okay. If your degree is 2, that means you have a quadratic curve that is being used to fit your data. If the degree is 3, and that means you are using a cubic the cubic third order polynomial in order to fit your data, basically. Okay. So if you, while varying this, okay, the degree can be like this, okay, varying. And then maybe what you can do here is, you can plot the training. This can be the error. Okay. And what will be the error? You need to see how the training error is varying. You will train your model by using this proportion of the data set, and then you evaluate the performance of the same data set. Okay. And I want you to see the pattern. Okay. As you improve, as you increase what do you say, as you increase the degree of your polynomial, okay, what is the most likely thing that is going to happen over here is, okay, the training error will continuously decrease. Okay. The training error will continuously decrease. Okay. That means you are trying to ensure that you're fitting your training data very optimally, and you're not bothered about what is that, if there are any deviations in the test data set or the validation data set, you're not bothered about it. Okay. And that is what it is indicating. You expect your model to perform only well on your training data set, but not on the testing data set. But the real crux is, because once you have trained the model, and you will be handing over this model to your client, and your client is definitely not going to use only the data which is which has been trained on the only the data which this model might have used in the training process. Okay. Some new data will be used in order to test the performance also. Okay. So now what you will do here is, you will also the plot the validation thing. Okay. So what happens typically, what happens is, for validation, after certain point of time, okay, there will be a deflection point for majority of the data sets. Okay. There will be a deflection point. Okay. That means uh, you are more fitting. This is the region you call it as an overfitting overfitting region, and this is the region you call it as an underfitting. Okay. So this is the place where you always should aim for, basically. Okay. So is this clear, or any repetition is needed at this point of time?
So now the error, if we see in the overfit region and in the underfit region, that error coordinate remains same, no sir? Only
Error coordinate in the sense?
sir, like the degree, if we see error on the y-axis, underfit region and the y point on the overfit region, both is remaining the same.
I didn't get you, madam. Can you please come again?
Sir, the error wise, if we see
Huh.
on the y-axis, what we are plotting for the error, no sir?
Huh.
For the training error and that validation error, the y-intercept for the underfit and the overfit remains the same. The top points of the curve, sir.
The top points of the curve you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
It need not be, madam. I've just shown like this, but it need not be.
So it is a combination of the overfit and underfit, exactly how we define, sir, based on which value we should define, sir.
No, but what I'm saying here is, Initially, why the error will be happening is the reason being for even if you have an higher training error, that means, what does it mean? uh, my decision boundary is not complex enough to separate these two classes, basically whatever is there in my training data. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So as I am increasing the complexity of the model, okay. What is the best thing that I can do? If I increase the complexity of the model, maybe better I'll be able to model the training data in a better way. Okay, so that these two classes will be separately can be very well be distinguished properly. Correct?
Correct, sir.
Classified properly, or in terms of classification I'm telling, but the same thing applies for regression also.
Okay, sir. So the segregation between the two
Let's
classes
talk in
define
terms of
the.
fitting. Let's talk in terms of fitting. That will be the right word. That means I'll be able to better fit my data, basically. If I'm increasing the complexity of my model, then means I'll be able to better fit my data.
Okay, sir. Sir, then underfit, does it imply that it is insufficient fitting actually?
Yes, underfitting means the complexity of the model is not good enough. The model is not complex enough in order to fit my training data, basically.
Okay, sir.
That is when I'll have higher training error, basically. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Huh.
Sir, but again, in overfit also, the error is increasing only, no, sir, here.
That is for validation. Overfit also, what happens here is you will have a lesser training error. I'm still fine with it. On what do you say? I'll show you an example, madam. Then that will be clear. Just a second. Just give me a second.
Okay, sir.
Right. So let's take my data is something like this. Maybe I'll run this also. Erase this also. Okay. Suppose say I have some house prediction data set itself. Suppose say assume I have a data set like this. Okay. If I use linear regression, okay, if I use linear regression, uh, how the regression curve will be there? Okay, it will be a straight line. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Good. So that means definitely I'll have some kind of an error. If you see, this straight line cannot pass through this all set of points correctly. Exactly. Okay.
Correct.
Then that means I'll have some kind of an error already here. This is the error here. For this is the error. 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 Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So now let's say I'm taking a higher order curve now. Okay. Instead of this, okay, I am taking say a higher order second order curve where I'm drawing like this. Okay. If you see, but still this higher order curve also, okay, it cannot pass through all set of points correctly. Okay, it will still has some kind of an error. But if I increasing my polynomial order, if I make maybe a third order polynomial, then I'll be able to completely pass through all set of points in my training data. I'll have almost like I can have it zero training error. Am I correct?
Correct.
Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Right? As I increase my complexity of my model, there is a possibility that I can have a zero training error. Okay. But the problem here is, okay, sometimes what is due to, because the data collection process is not always perfect. Okay, there will be some kind of an errors always induced in the data collection process, basically. Okay, so in such scenarios, what will happen here is, okay, when I am increasing my model complexity, even though I am able to design a curve which can pass through all set of points in my training data, okay, that means it might produce my zero training error. Okay, but there is not what do you say? It's not always the case that my testing, whatever new data is which is going to come, okay, is going to come and fall onto this curve, basically. Okay, it can be something else also. That means I am more what do you say, I'm this is where I say that, okay, I'm overfitting my data towards the data, towards the training data, basically. Okay, and I'm increasing my complexity, I'm producing a zero training error. Okay, but I'm not able to, I cannot generalize in these scenarios, I cannot generalize to the data which is not seen by this model, basically.
Okay, sir.
Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Right. Because this curvy nature which is happening in this training set, what can happen is, it might be because of some kind of an what do you say? It can be because of some kind of an error which is there in my what do you say, in the training data acquisition itself. Okay, if my training data acquisition is perfect, and then it's fine. But training data acquisition itself will definitely have some kind of an errors, because the data collection, suppose say you are collecting this data from sensors. Okay, and these sensors are always influenced by some kind of an external noise from the surrounding environment. Okay, and when you have such kind of an scenario, you can, it's almost like but I'm not sure what is that exact noise which is there, but I'm not sure. Okay, and just because I have a training error zero, it doesn't mean my model is perfect. Okay, this is the biggest problem that is being dealt in today's world of artificial intelligence. Okay, we call this as problem of generalization. Okay, you, it's very important that your models, whatever you're building, it can be a machine learning model, it can be a deep learning model, any kind of artificial intelligence model that you build. Okay, it should be able to generalize well to the unseen data. Okay, that should be your ultimate goal, right? If it is not, then you're in some kind of a trouble. Okay, but overfitting also sometimes helps. Okay, and there was one scenario in our company where we were designing the computer vision based system in order to identify the people, how many number of people who are evacuating the building. Okay, based on the surveillance camera data, because during the fire accidents there will be mock fire drills in many of your companies. Also, you must be seeing this mock kind of a mock fire drills. Okay, in those scenarios, what will happen? Okay, based on the, in the fire drill operation also, in maybe even if it's an actual fire accident also, it's very important that you need to have a head count of the number of people going outside. Okay, so and what's the best thing that we can do? You cannot make every employee to swipe the card in such kind of an scenario. Okay, you should have some kind of a system where it should be able to compute the number of people who are going out automatically. Okay, so what we did was, there are few surveillance cameras or CCTV cameras which are installed in every building, right? In any ways, in all the companies, if you see, the CCTV cameras are always installed. Okay, and by capturing from that CCTV camera data, what we tell is, okay, these are the number of people who went out. Okay, and what did we do here is, we overfitted our model. Okay, to detect only people, only persons. Okay, because we know that, okay, the people, number of people, the person identification is what is more important. Okay, so whatever training data that we had, okay, we have captured, and we have ensured that we have designed our model in such a way that it should detect only persons. Okay, and in that case, I have to overfit my model and ensure that, okay, whatever training data has, okay, the training data has some number of people, and that means it should my model should be robust enough to detect the people. In that case, I should ensure that my model is overfitted to detect the only people. And if I have to detect for multiple classes, then maybe overfitting might not work. Okay, if I have to detect for some unknown classes of people which might come in, okay, if I want to detect the number of people who are going out, as well as the same system should also detect they say other objects in the scene, it might not be possible. Basically, some new objects which might enter during the fire accident, it might not be feasible. Okay, but I want to design my system in such a way that it should detect the persons who are going out of the building very perfectly. Okay, and we designed a system which overfits to that particular detection. Okay, is this clear, or am I confusing you?
Yeah. Sir, this last example that you were telling, no, sir, for that evacuation model.
Hmm.
So there means there we are basically trying to classify other objects from people, sir.
So there we have to classify only people basically. Okay, and my model should be robust enough to classify only people, not the other objects.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and in that case, actually, I'll ensure that no, what do you say? I'll ensure that I'm overfitting to detecting only people, not anything else.
Okay, then this is some kind of optimization that we do in the model.
You show more and more training data, something like that, then your model actually will overfit to that.
Okay, sir.
So here the training error, right? The last curve which I've shown. Okay, that means I increase my complexity of the model in such a way that it produces a zero training error. Okay, if it's producing a zero training error, that means now my model is complex enough to be uh, call itself as an overfitting model.
Okay, sir. So in overfit, that dispersion reduces and we more approach towards the best fit of that curve.
Yeah, best fit which can pass through all the training examples.
Okay, sir.
Right. So what you need to do here is either you can take the Boston data set or the other diabetes data set. These both are regression only. Even the linear RUD also you can take it. The linear RUD also has 3 output variables anyways. Okay, so you can take linear RUD data set also. But you may have to design do the same analysis for each and every output variable. Okay, linear RUD will be very apt, and you will see a better difference. And but instead of linear regression, what I want you to take here is you can take either decision tree regressor. Okay, don't worry about how it works, how the decision tree works at this point of time. Okay, or you can even take uh, support vector regressor. Okay, what you need to do here is you need to what do you say? There is a parameter called. Let me tell you that parameter name also, so that that will be easier. Okay, so there's a parameter called degree. Okay, in support vector regressor. Okay, there is a parameter called degree in support vector regressor. All that you have to do here is you have to vary that parameter. Okay, just a second, I'll share my screen. Right, so if you see here, there is a degree parameter in support vector regressor. Okay,
you have to put it in a loop and evaluate the training and the validation accuracies, okay, for each and every value of a degree ranging from 0 to 10 maybe. Okay, it'll take a lot of time, but it's taking a lot of time in my system. I'm not sure why, but since evening it has executed only until degree 2. Okay, so maybe it's taking a lot of time, but see if it's happening the same in your system also or not. Okay, so if it's taking a lot of time, maybe you try to execute on Colab, or else at least you try with decision tree regressor. In the decision tree regressor, actually you have this what do you say, this parameter called maximum depth, okay, minimum samples leaf. Okay, these parameters are there. Okay, you can vary with the different values. Okay, and see maybe by increasing the depth, you can see from maximum depth, you can keep it from starting from 0 to 20 maybe. Okay, and then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you put it in a loop and compute the training error, okay, and the testing error the way I have done here. Okay, training error and the testing error, sorry, validation error, you just keep it. Okay, all that you have to do here is you have to keep 60% in as a training data, 20% in the validation, and the testing as 20%. Okay, so after you have used that either decision tree or support vector regressor, after fitting the data, you predict the training prediction you will do and the validation prediction you will do, and you will compute the mean square error. Okay, you will compute the mean square error between for the validation set as well as the training set, what is the error that is happening. Okay, and you have to plot it. Typically if you plot it, and then you should get two curves, one for training error and one for validation. Okay, repeat the same for all the regression data sets, this kind of an analysis. Okay, and see what happens when you are overfitting. Okay, sometimes beyond certain degree of complexity, your what do you say, the variation of the training error or the validation error will be reaching a saturation. It won't vary further. Okay, it neither decreases or increases, because if it's not decreasing further nor increasing, then that's perfectly fine. If the training error is increasing beyond a certain depth value, then that means that you are getting into an overfitting mode. Okay, I just want you to see you all to experiment on these three data sets and see by increasing this maximum depth parameter for this decision tree regressor, or by increasing the degree of polynomial in this SPR. Okay, whether are you going into an overfitting mode for any of those three data sets or not. Okay, is this task clear?
Yes, sir.
Right, all that you have to do is you have to check how the training curve and the validation curve is varying. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so this we call it as an overfitting and underfitting. Okay, so these are the new terms that I have introduced. Okay, on a similar lines, if you are done with these two curves today, by today night, okay, and show it to me tomorrow, okay, then I can talk about something called bias and variance. Okay, and I will also introduce you to a this what do you say, the first initial artificial neural network also. Okay, the fully connected network that people will call, and how the process happens. This is not very much different. What we have discussed that quite extensively while talking about logistic regression. Okay, and I'm going to introduce you to the artificial neural network tomorrow. Okay, so will this be is this possible today night? Will you be able to plot the variation of the training curve and the validation curve?
Yes, sir.
Junita ma'am, are you able to understand whatever I've said?
Yes, sir, but it takes some time, sir. Tomorrow, I think it is not possible. I'll try my level best, sir.
Okay, okay. Pratibha ma'am, are you able to understand whatever I said?
Concept I have understood.
Sir, me also concept clear, sir.
Ah,
I will try to plot, sir.
yeah. So can you just explain what you have to do? Maybe you can just explain in your own words, Pratibha ma'am. Pratibha ma'am,
Yeah, sir.
yeah, you just explain whatever whatever is the task I have asked. Maybe can you explain it in words?
Sir, I have to see whether the degree of the polynomial increasing. We have to see whether the error is decreasing or increasing. It is underfitting model, a best fit or overfit.
Correct, correct. How the training error is varying and how the validation error is varying.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
That's it, nothing else. Okay, and you have to plot that curve and show me for each of those three data sets how the variation is, how the training error is varying with increasing the
Degree of the
degree
polynomial.
parameter, right?
Concept, it is clear, sir.
That's
Only
it, madam.
difficulty
That
is
is
in
what I need to do.
programming.
Maybe I'll look into your curves tomorrow. Okay. Okay, then let's catch up tomorrow. Let's get started with initials of neural networks tomorrow, and then we will proceed, take it forward from there. Okay. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.